Okay, so like I started to say, this is a screenshot that we just made with the 5KX, or 5K plus. If we zoom all the way in and look at details in the distance, like what I want to see is the clarity of like the Firestone sign and stuff up on the hill. We can't really make out that sign, but we've got lots of sort of artifacts and aliasing in the telephone poles that are in the distance. So what we're going to do now is shut down the game rig, switch the headsets, boot it back up, and take a look at the same scene with the 8KX instead of the 5K plus. Okay, let me just go switch the headsets. I'll be right back. Okay. So now we're going to be booting up with the 8KX. Little red light is on. You can see the LRL right there. LRL is a technical term. It's for little red light. Okay. So let's open up PyTool. Right now I've got the green light. Okay, let's check out what's resolution the SteamVR thinks it's running in. Okay, so this is way higher than we were just at with the 5K. So let's try and compare apples to apples. So this is what I want to try and adjust it to, is get it so that it's close to 2468. Or 42, I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so it's not, the aspect ratio is slightly different. So we're now a little bit wider, but a little bit narrower, or we'll go with that. And I'm never sure if restarting SteamVR is necessary when you make those kind of resolution changes, but I usually do it anyway. Okay, so we're going to do the same test, radical at Laguna Seca. Okay, so what we're looking at here is actually the iRacing window. I have to run voice attack to get my button box. It does seem like the 8KX is way more sensitive to the EMI issues or whatever that I have with my rig, so that if I touch it, it goes gray much more easily than the 5K Plus does these days. So what I'm feeling is there is a place off to the right, and it feels like it's about 3 millimeters, where everything just pops into crystal clear focus, which is fundamentally different than the default position on my face. I kind of feel like if I push up, because the way the old school facial interface from the 5K is, I actually have it resting fairly high on my forehead, and I wonder if I'm just looking through a different part of the lens with that. Okay, so the comparison I wanted to do before getting into like the subjective how it looks, let's try and be scientific about it. Use the SteamVR screenshot option. And take a screenshot. Okay, so this one is from the 5K. And this one is from the 8K. And I hate how when your monitors are set the way mine are, if you drag something and it's going to make it the width that actually goes up through the next display, which is inconvenient. So I'm expecting these to look almost identical as far as like what's being rendered to the headset, and it's just a difference of the resolution in the actual panels in the HMD that show any difference in how it looks. But let's take a look first at like the clarity of Firestone and maybe some of the, this might be a good indicator with like the on-screen text as well. So it's interesting. With the 5K, we're actually seeing these telephone poles and stuff, or the telephone wires. And in the 8K, we don't see those at all. I wonder why. The clarity in the stuff we do see is kind of what I expected as far as I'm not sure I could take the Pepsi challenge and say that one of these is, but it's interesting, even like in this fencing, we're seeing differences. So I wonder if somehow it's considering the LODs differently. You think so? I don't know. The clouds? Hmm. There's no position in like orientation that I see that makes those details pop in. Sometimes it's like, if you just move around a little bit, it'll draw in LOD issues or something. But like right now, it's interesting. If I look at that chain link fence that's below the Firestone, I don't see all of the vertical things. We drive towards it. You guys can't see this one. So it's right there that they pop in. So see that? How the fences are missing half of the vertical supports? When we get to there, then they pop in. That's interesting. You do see that on the... I wonder if you guys are seeing that clearly on the monitor the way I'm seeing it in the game. It's like, yeah, right there they pop in. And now the telephone wires popped in. So right here, the telephone wires are still not drawing. And now they do pop in. I wonder if this has to do with like the LOD system. Because these two, the resolution of what the game should be trying to run, I think should be consistent as far as the way we adjusted the SteamVR super sampling between the two. Just double check what the screenshots have to say for themselves. So this most recent one is from the 5K Plus. If we look at its properties, details, that's its resolution. And the previous one is from the 5K. So I would not expect iRacing or SteamVR to be working any harder right now to drive the 8KX than the 5K Plus. I mean, we've got 100 and what? Well, there's a few more pixels. We're 8520 versus 8528 and 2780 versus 2836. So that's really not a huge difference in resolution. Let's see if the LOD stuff makes a difference. Oh, I bet yeah, let's take a look at the LOD stuff. Maybe it thinks it's trying to, oh, I bet that's what it is. It's probably trying to hit 90 hertz, which is impossible with this headset. So maybe that's like sent it into some kind of feedback loop or something. So no, it has FPS 75 as its target. I was expecting this to say FPS 90 as the target. That's disappointing. So let's try turning off the world LOD. Okay, so turning off
there, Chris, let's go.
Turning off the world LOD
partly cloudy,
does make a difference because now I do see
Fahrenheit
all the
in air, 119.0
geometry there for
Fahrenheit
the
around the
fences
track.
and the telephone wires. And you guys aren't seeing that. Hold on. Yeah, so now at the default position, we're seeing the same detail. Let's take a screenshot of that. It's weird that I have, it used to just work if you pressed S, it seems like. Now it seems like I have to go into the developer debug commands to enable that. So now if I press S, has that been working this whole time? Let's see. Yeah, I just made a whole bunch. Okay, so now let's take a look at this one. Let's reset the VR view, shall we? You know, I'd like to think they're going to make the refresh rate up, but I also kind of think if it was possible, they would have done it already. Okay, so now we are seeing. At least we're seeing the same geometry. Yeah, that's true. We only expected 9 hertz from the 5Ks. Does your 5K do the 144? Because mine only does 120 or 90. And I think I might have had like one of the earlier hardware versions. Okay, so here's the previous one where we don't see the fences and stuff. And this is the 5K one where we do see the fences. Hello, Connor. Personal hygiene. So I would say these two are nearly identical, which is what I was hoping and expecting to see. There isn't really, I don't perceive any significant quality difference in the aliasing on the telephone poles. Maybe there's a little different detail in here, but like the stripes on these guys, clarity in the Firestone signage, everything looks pretty close, which is good. I mean, that's what I want to see. Let's take a look at something that's closer up, like in the cockpit on the car. So all of this is just pixels on the displays. It really doesn't have any, consideration for the panel, the optics, or any other considerations. It's just how does my computer resolve these pixels. So revs and shift and revs and shift, segments on the LCDs. Everything looks really consistent. I'm not seeing I would say these are practically identical, so that's good. Yeah. Well, they should be the same. I mean, the resolution that we set in SteamVR with the super sampling really comes out to within a few pixels in each dimension. So that's what I wanted to see. But when we put the headset back on, so if I just let it sit on my face the way that it's comfortable, it's not in focus. And if I switch the, do you guys see the overlay? No, you don't see it. Maybe if I think there's like a SteamVR option to turn those overlays on. Let's see. Weird. I thought there was a way to get it in the mirror. Doesn't matter. If I adjust the IPD slider, so all the way to the left, it's going up. The maximum value that it seems to have is 73.3. And that is obviously not right for me. There's no position where it seems clear for either eye really at all. And if I crank it down, I can see it coming into focus-ish. The lowest value that this lets me do is 60.5, which is odd because it seems like the 5K does let me get below 60. And just now, looking at this, it actually does look pretty clear, but this is the most frustrating part. If I shift it just ever so slightly to the right, it's in much closer focus. Like looking up at the Firestone sign, if I just shift it over, I can actually almost see the dot on the eye or the Firestone. And if I do that, and then I open my left eye and close the left eye is totally out of focus. And if I shift it over to the left, correspondingly, there's a point where it seems like that eye pops into super crisp focus. Now, if I open my right eye, the right eye is totally out of focus. So with the minimum IPD setting, there's no position like I can, find that has both eyes in super sharp focus. It seems like if I have it just centered, both of them are slightly out of optical focus, which is really frustrating because it's like I know intellectually that the pixel resolution is astounding, and if I could just see it clearly through the optics, it'd be great. But I can't. And what I was feeling was that there might be a difference in the way the old school facial interface rests on my head versus the comfort kit, because it feels like there is a potentially different angle and position. Because on the 5K Plus, I have a old VR cover velour thing that I use on top of the Pimax plastic. The Velcro seems to be compatible and the sizing is appropriate. Um, and maybe there is some, I mean, I'm just playing around with it on my face now, and I'm not like finding this magic sweet spot where everything pops into focus for both eyes the way that it seems to with the 5K Plus. So yeah, I'm gonna reach out to Kevin tomorrow and see if it's possible to get like the old school facial interface, at least the plastics around. Can I adjust the offset in PyTools? Yeah, but that's not the problem. The software IPD just shifts the image on the panel. And that's, I'm not talking about converging on an object in the distance or anything like that. What I need is optical focus, and that's what the slider for the IPD adjusts, is like the actual physical lens spacing. So yeah, I mean, we can take here just to satisfy curiosity. Yes, we can adjust the um, software IPD in PyTool. We go into the settings, HMD. So this is the value that I found that works well for me in the 5K is the 0.05. And if I change that, I see it moving, you know, the image on the panel, but it's not, I mean, it's obviously not changing the physical lens spacing or anything, which is what I feel like I really need. And it's frustrating because like wearing it right now, it's like and I guess I'm also sensitive to it because my eyes for close focus reading and stuff like that have started to fall off. And I do use like reader glasses now if I'm trying to read anything that's closer than a meter. But for VR, it's always the focal distance is far enough in the distance that I've never, I mean, my far distance is still super clear in the real world. But what I feel is like it feels like it's optically out of focus, and my eyes are trying to compensate for that or make it pop into focus. And the only way that I can make it pop into focus is to physically just shift it ever so slightly to the right. And then it is in focus, but it's not when it's in the central resting place. And it's not, if I can get it so that it's in focus for one eye, then it's even more out of focus for the other. And I did try, putting it totally cockeyed like this so that it looks good for my dominant eye. But I got a really intense headache because I think the left eye is just trying so hard to struggle to get it into focus subconsciously or whatever. But maybe there is like if it's just ever so slightly ahead or closer, then I can squeeze it with the way the plastic is. That would make it work. It's frustrating. And that's why I think if you had a wider, like your eyes were just a little bit further apart, you could find the slider position that makes the right eye and the left eye in focus. And I'm just, so narrow that I suffer and I can't get it quite in. Yeah, I mean, they could have changed everything as far as like the way the optics and the strength of the Fresnel lens and everything like that, or Fresnel, or never really known how people. I think I've been corrected before, and they say it's a Fresnel lens. Um, but yeah. Anyway, I think that's where I'm going to stop for tonight. But thanks for watching. Take it easy. Drive safe. My goal is to see if I can get like the or maybe even just like look at some teardown videos and stuff and see how to remove the facial interface, and have greater flexibility with like in terms of how to position it and stuff. Because it does look. Let me switch to like the webcam. It does look to me like there is pretty fundamental difference. Yeah. I'm not showing it clearly. But what I feel like is like the way this plastic's around and how much of a gap it has, like up here on the head. This looks different to me than here. It seems like just the shape of the plastics around is different. So if I can pop this one off the 8K and put one on that's consistent with what I have on the 5K, maybe that does change something about like just the position. And maybe there is like a slightly closer that does make it so that I can see, but we'll see. But on the other hand, it's also, I guess, gratifying that, you know, the 5K really is good. Even in spite of what seems like might be slower or slightly lower resolution, you know, the sense of presence, the clarity when I'm driving, and that's, I don't know if it is the frame rate, but so far I haven't had that. I'm just in the world with the 8K. And maybe it's because I'm constantly struggling with the focus or the frame rate is different. But it's like the 5K, I put it on and I'm in the place. My sense of presence is, you know, really convincing. So I don't know. It's frustrating. Okay, but I'm gonna go for now. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Drive safe. I will see you later. Bye bye. Pit Girl end stream.
Ending stream. Please remain calm.